Hello again. I hope you enjoyed lunch. Please take your seat. We have an amazing presentation coming our way from Nik Nanos. Of course, he's the chief data scientist and founder of Nanos Research, and he's also a director at THI Canada, a public opinion pollster, entrepreneur, public speaker, author. I would say household name, if there is such a thing for pollsters in Canada, but also leading a world-class company that he founded on market and public opinion data. He will give us the latest survey on Canadians' opinions of Greece following the Greek Prime Minister's visit to Canada earlier this year. So without further ado.
I hope you don't mind. I am not going to use the podium so that we can be a little more dramatic. The good news is that it is 2 o'clock. I will be very short and snappy. I'm going to share with you the latest data. And you know, the thing is that we always talk about the Greek brand. We talk about the Greek reputation, Greece as a place to invest. And it's been on the radar much more in the last number of years. But I think it's always important to put some numbers on actually what has been achieved, and also to put some data behind opportunities that exist for Greece. And what I'm going to do today is do a very quick walk through the perceptions of the Greek brand that we've been tracking in Canada over the last decade. This is separate from another study that we do in the United States. But you know, the thing is that, you know, what's interesting is that when we look at the things that are most likely to drive the Greek brand, and you know, many times when we do these types of studies, everybody says everything's important. You know, that Greece is a NATO ally is important, that it's an interesting place of history, that it's a net place of natural beauty, the products. But when we run a statistical analysis on the things that are most likely to drive statistically the Greek reputation and brand, at the very top of the list you can see vertically, the more vertical an element is, the more likely it is to have a statistical relationship. So, Greeks as a welcoming people, Greece is a safe place to visit, having a vacation in Greece, those things are the most likely to drive a Greek brand. And if I might say, we have to think of those attributes as gateways. Gateways to discussion to diversify the reputation of Greece as a NATO ally and as a place to invest. A gateway that is really anchor elements that are actually quite positive that Canadians have in terms of the Greek brand and what they think of Greece, so that we can engage in the discussion on those other things in order to kind of diversify the reputation and brand to make it even stronger. But actually what's quite striking is that, you know, when we look at the trend line, at least over the last decade, you can see at least, you know, for the proportion of Canadians that would score the reputation or their favorability of Greece on a scale of 0 to 10 or 1 to 10, you can see that the positive score, the favorable score of 8, 9, or 10 out of 10 has actually hit a new high in terms of the trending. The other thing that's quite striking is you can see the change over the last decade in the favorability score. And you can, you know, back in 2013, people were 3 times more likely to have an unfavorable rather than a favorable impression of Greece. And that, for all intents and purposes, has turned itself on its head. Now Canadians are 5 times more likely to have a favorable rather than an unfavorable impression of Greece as a country. That said, still about 1 out of every 5 are unsure. And these would be, if this was a political campaign, these would be the persuadables, the people that we want to engage, the people that we want to tell our story, the narrative related to Greece, in order for them to have a better understanding of the Greek brand. And you know, even when you think of things like perceptions related to safety, and actually this is quite critical when it comes to tourism, right? And you can see a significant improvement over the last decade on this particular measure. And you know, the improvement has basically cut across all demographics and regions in the country. Now this is our, you know, if I was to put down a marker on where we have to work, and this is where the work of the Delphi Forum is actually quite critical. If I was to pick one thing that we really have to try to focus on, it is the whole concept of investment and connecting that to Greece. 1/3 of Canadians have no opinion on this, and you can see the proportion that have a favorable score is quite low. And I think this is why I talked about things as gateway discussion points, but to use them as kind of ways to start a discussion on things like Greece as a NATO ally and Greece as a great place to invest. The good news is that, you know, and I see Ambassador Dimakis is here, the good news is that it seems like every single year there's another great story about the economic relationship between Canada and Greece in terms of investments that Canadian companies are making in Greece and also investments that Greek companies are making in Canada. That said, you know, the proportion of Canadians that kind of look at Greece as a NATO ally, when we look at the favorable versus unfavorable, you know, it's quite a significant delta in a positive sense. But, you know, I would say that rounding out this discussion, especially in a world where there's uncertainty in the Middle East, in a world where there's uncertainty between Russia and Ukraine and between China and the United States, building that narrative that Greece is not only, you know, an emerging economic partner, not only is a place of beauty, a place for you to have a vacation, but to really put some meat on the bones in terms of Greece as a NATO ally, I think is a significant opportunity that's out there. And, you know, not a big surprise, Greek food products. You know, the good news is that almost everybody, 19 of 20 Canadians have an opinion on this, and you can see that the positivity related to food products from Greece is actually, you know, exceptionally strong and more positive by a factor of 10 to 1, right? So, you know, so you have to think of this as another kind of gateway kind of narrative related to the Greek brand. And, you know, I did promise to be snappy, and the good news is that this is my last slide. I think one of the things that I want to put on the table, you know, we recently had a visit by Prime Minister Mitsotakis, and, you know, I don't think we can underestimate the importance of diplomacy, the work that the embassy and the consulate do in Canada in terms of advancing the binational relationship. I don't think we can underestimate the importance and opportunity of the Prime Minister coming to visit Canada and to talk about Greece and to talk about the binational partnership and to talk about all the opportunities that are out there. You know, so, you know, maybe the call to action is that, you know, we've had a good year in terms of the favorability score. Things are trending in the right direction, but it's still a significant work in progress. We have to take the discussions that are happening today in the hallways. It's kind of like all these big meetings. A lot of the important chatter actually happens not on the stage, but it actually happens in the hallways between people talking about investing in Greece and the binational relationship. So we have to take those conversations and we have to keep that momentum going. And with that, that's it. I think I was just the entertainment for 15 minutes as we get back to the substance. So thank you very much. Bye-bye.